So I'd say a couple things. One, I'd say go for a walk outside first. And then while you're on your walk or after, just a short. And the reason being is sometimes you just need to change your state. You need to change your surroundings. You need to get the blood flowing a little bit. So that's one piece of it. The other piece I would say is I'd like to encourage them to make a list of 10 things that they're grateful for right now. The reason being is even when you're in the most challenging times, there's always something you can be grateful for. You can be grateful that you're here. You can be grateful for your health. You can be grateful for a friend, a family member, and find 10 things. And the reason I say that is because gratitude has a way of helping us to shift our perspective in the sense of it's not minimizing what you're going through, but it just gives you a little bit of a break in terms of changing your train of thought, just like going for a walk or a run or a workout or something like that will change your physical state, which will impact how you feel. Writing that list it'll just bring a little bit of clarity. And Dave, you know some of the stuff I share a little bit that I'm currently going through from a personal standpoint. And it is very challenging. And I have to take those moments of just like, what can I be grateful for right now? And it may not be gratitude for the existing situation, but I can be grateful for my health. I can be grateful for the time I can be grateful for. And so whoever's listening out there, if you are going through that challenging time, just find some things that you can be grateful for. Again, it may not be in that exact situation, but I always say you can borrow gratitude from something over here. Just borrow it. I'm grateful that I'm alive. And it's going to help you see some clarity with whatever you're going through.
Okay, everyone, welcome back to Living the Next Chapter, the podcast for authors. And I have an author on today, which is great. I'm excited to talk about this. NeverquitonaBadday.com is the website. I love the name of the website and the book and the stories. There's a lot of great stuff we're going to talk about today. And I'm so excited Phebe Trotman's on today. If you do a YouTube search, you're going to find this guest everywhere. And the fact that she has time to be with us is awesome. So Phebe, welcome to Living the Next Chapter. Glad to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm super excited to be here. So thank you for having me on today. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
It's great. And you are a fellow Canadian. So let everybody know where you are in this big world of ours.
Yes, so I am in the suburbs of Vancouver. So I'm in a city called Coquitlam. It's just about a 30-minute drive outside of Vancouver, BC.
Nice. Awesome. And is that born and raised there, recently there? Give us a little background.
Yeah, no, I actually was born and raised in Coquitlam. So I grew up in Coquitlam. I did move out for a little bit. I was out in Burnaby. I was downtown Vancouver. And then I was back. I actually should say I was down in Fort Collins a little bit too for a season down there of soccer. And I've been back in Coquitlam probably for about 10 years or so now.
Okay. And you say soccer. And then I'm like, okay, wait a minute. So tell us more about your sport background. You have been doing this for a long time. Tell us more.
I have. Yeah, absolutely. So I started playing soccer when I was about 5 years old, mostly because my older brother played. So I was the little sister that was going with my parents to his games. And I kind of was like, probably tug on the sleeve and like, I want to do that too. And so my parents signed me up. And now when I look back at the picture, and I still remember this, my first soccer team experience, I was actually on an all boys team. So I was a little girl on an all boys team. I was the only person of color on the team. And I don't know if my parents, if it was supposed to be a co-ed team and I was just the only little girl who signed up, or maybe it was a boys team and they plopped me on. I have no idea. Anyways, everyone was fabulous. It was, just kids playing soccer. We loved the sport. I loved it. And I've kind of continued playing straight through from 5 till now. I still continue to play too.
Wow. Amazing. So when my
left in there, we can unpack if you want to.
Yeah, no,
it
was great. When my youngest was really little, we got him into soccer. And it was funny. You go as parents, you get your little folding chair and you sit on the sidelines watching the game. And it'd be like this mob. Like there's the ball, and then there's this big mob of kids running as a group chasing the ball. Nobody's playing position. Nobody's doing any of that. It's just like big group of kids. And my son, he had this weird thing when he was running, his head wouldn't move. Like he was like perfectly still from the neck up, but his body's just trucking along, right?
Wow.
And he'd be looking at us with the biggest smile on his face. But he would get the ball and he would go around everyone and score and score and score and score and score to the point where the refs are like, okay, enough of this kid. So you're not allowed to score anymore. You have to pass. But he would pass to a group and then would just stop, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, but he had the biggest smile when he was playing sports, that this was his space. This was something he loved. He loved the attention of the crowd cheering and all of that. And I think sports is so important for kids to plug into, to find identity and teamwork and all of that stuff. For you growing up, if you could encourage parents around sports, what would you say? How important is it? Is that kind of resonating with you?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I actually oversee a program right now for children ages 3 to 7. And I just feel like, and it's soccer related, but sport in general is such a great vehicle for life skills. As you shared some of them, I look back over my career in athletics, and it's just been, it's part of who I am in terms of the growth, the challenges that I had to overcome, the successes that I got to enjoy, the friendships that you make. And so I encourage parents to put their children in sport, whether it's, I think children should participate in team sport as well as individual sport, even if it doesn't become their pathway in terms of long-term success. It's just a great place to connect and learn and grow and have those wins and, learn to navigate some of the challenges that they'll face as they get older in the real world, if you will. And so and what you just shared with your son, like having that smile on his face, that's the most important thing. I think sometimes we get so into this, like, okay, my child, they're going to be the next fill in the blank. And really, it's just about encouraging them to be the best that they can be in whatever capacity and enjoyment. And that's such a big thing, especially at those younger ages. Like our focus on our program is really about fun. The coaches that I have that I work with, I'm like, you know what? The most important thing is that these kids have fun. Yes, they're learning the fundamentals of the game, absolutely, and physical literacy. And we want them to enjoy health long term. And we really want them to have a smile on their face. And like my goal is anytime, like after a child goes through our program, it can be 10 years down the road when they see a soccer ball, maybe they're walking by a field and they see a ball, or they're watching World Cup, that they can smile because they can think back to their own experience as a little soccer player and that they had an enjoyable one. Again, whether they continue on in the sport or not, it really is that they look back on it and they're like, oh yeah, I had fun when I played that, or, that coach was encouraging to me, or I made a good friend when I was playing, or whatever it is. And so I do really encourage parents to get your child involved in sport, even if they don't pick it up right away. That's okay. As long as they have that smile, as you just shared, Dave, that's the most important thing, that they're enjoying it.
Yeah. And then we had the opportunity to take him to a TFC game in Toronto, and he got to carry the ball out onto the pitch for the beginning of the game. So he's standing on the sidelines. All the players are rehearsing, practicing, getting ready, warming up around him. And like the police are there for crowd control. The crowd is cheering for him. His name's up on the board. They announce him onto the pitch, and he carries the ball out and sets it down, and it's like, what a great moment to then walk onto a field full of professionals that he admires and he looks up to, and they're talking to him like he's a big deal. And he's like, his face, he's just glowing, and people are cheering for him. And I'm like, what a great moment, right? So I just, the fact that people do sports and do it so well, and our kids can look up to people like you and go, I want to be like that someday. It's a great opportunity to encourage kids that anything is possible. Follow your dreams. Absolutely. Oh, the whole story, right? So absolutely, thank you for doing what you do for kids, because I think it helps them down the road in ways that you can't measure it. The fact that it's going to put them in like a boardroom presenting to a group of people to give them the confidence that they learned as a child, carry it forward into adulthood. There's a lot of great things that, team sports and being involved in sports does. So again, thank you so much for what you do for kids. And, I just continue to do that. That's amazing. As a parent, thank you for what you do.
Thank you. Thank you. I absolutely enjoy it. And I learn a lot from them as much as, they keep me on my toes. That's for sure when you're dealing with 3 to 7-year-olds. And I get a lot of it as well. So it really is a lot of fun. And it's a great way to, again, just, have a little role in helping someone enjoy the sport, but also, as you said, take that confidence and teamwork and all those life lessons into other areas of their life as well.
Yeah. And for all of our UK listeners, yes, we're talking about football right now. Just to make it very clear. Yes, we understand it is football in the UK. So thank you for listening. You are an author as well. So come on, not only are you great at sports and helping other kids in sports, you have time to write books and do all of this and speaking and all this stuff. Again, on your website, you have so much great information. Tell us about Never Quit on a Bad Day. What's the big idea for the book, the website, and what you're doing in life? Why that title? Why does that stick out for you?
Yeah, it's still surreal to have this book because when I look, like, I'm always a big goal setter and life goals and things that I want to accomplish and enjoy and experience. And writing a book really wasn't on there. It was that I always wanted to create something. The last like 5 to 7 years, I'd say, I've had on my heart that I wanted to create something that would encourage people, that would inspire people. That being said, I wasn't really sure what it was how it was going to take shape. I just knew that was something that was really important to me, and how I was going to do it, I was really open to. And I encourage people listening, sometimes you have, it's so important just to be open, because it's exciting where your life can lead when you do have that openness. When again, what the mission is, how you execute it sometimes will take different twists and turns. And some friends of mine I was with, and I was sharing that, it's been on my heart, and they're the ones who suggested write a book. And I sort of initially chuckled at the idea, mostly because it wasn't something that I thought that was the route I would go down. And they kind of spun it on me. And this is why, again, I just encourage people listening, just make sure you surround yourself with great people. And depending who you're around, some people are going to they're going to speak encouragement into your dreams, and some people are not. And so just be very careful, again, who you surround yourself with. And we can talk more about that after. That being said, they were the ones who kind of spoke into it and said how a book would help people. And so when they did that, then I was like, kind of simmering on the idea. And the month before, I had an incredible honor. I was inducted into the Coquitlam Sports Hall of Fame. And in that induction event, the interviewer asked me some questions and asked me, what has sport given me? And I shared, again, some of the stuff we've talked about in terms of life skills. And I said, I've had incredible highs through sport, championships on every level, and personal accolades as well too. And I said, however, the only reason I was able to enjoy all those highs are because of the tough stuff, the not making a team, sitting on the bench, only getting 5 minutes, like pushing through all of that is the only reason that I got to enjoy the highs. And so when my friends were, encouraging me about the book idea, I did share with them, if I was going to write a book, it had to do two things. It had to help and encourage people. And also I had to feel passionate about the topic. And that night when I was reflecting on it, I remembered that conversation that I had at that induction event. And I was like, that's what I want to write a book about. I want to write a book about that shares kind of the story behind the story, because we see the successes and the highlights, and we don't often know what someone went through to get there. And we all go through challenges in life. And so I knew I wanted to create a book that talked about that shed a little bit of insight into some of the challenges that people have gone through to get to where they are. And more importantly, what did they do to navigate through those challenges? Like, are there certain things that they did that helped them push through when they were having a tough time? And I remember hearing that saying, never quit on a bad day, years and years and years and years ago. And it always stuck with me because it applies to like every area in life, right? And from sports to relationships to goals, everything. And so then I was like, that's what I want the title of the book to be. That being said, this is all, it's late at night. I'm kind of brainstorming on it. And I say I do this thing with God. I call it my open the door, close the door. And so because I had those initial feelings of like nerves, and like, I've never written a book. Like,
Yeah.
no, I don't even really love to write. Like, all these thoughts, right? Those limiting beliefs start coming in. And so I was like, okay, God, I'm like, okay, if the domain, the URL never quit on a bad day is available, then I know you're saying, okay, you're opening the door. You're telling me this is the path I should go on.
Right.
If it's not available, then the door is closed. And maybe the book idea isn't the right way to go, or maybe it's just supposed to be another title, or whatever it'll be. We'll explore that path. And to be completely, I fully expected that domain to be gone. I was like, not going to be available, and the next day, because I was away. And so the next day I came home, and again, I was like, okay, God, if I'm supposed to do this, I'm very nervous about this, but if I'm supposed to do it, I was excited. It was those nerves, those excited nerves, if you will. And I remember I typed it in GoDaddy, and I just went da and hit it. And I was like, what? I'm like, .com's available, .ca is available, like everything. And I was like, so then I was like, okay, bought it all. And then I had the like, oh, this means I have to do this, doesn't
Mm-hmm.
it? All those. And then again, the chatter. And the one thing that I have gotten very good at, if you will, is being comfortable, being uncomfortable, in the sense that realizing that we all have our comfort zones and we do well in those comfort zones. However, there's another saying that I love, Neil Donald Walsh, and life begins at the edge of your comfort zone. And
Mm.
so that has always stuck with me as well too. And I realized that I was a little bit nervous because it's something I've never done before. And so
Yeah.
as we continue to step outside of that comfort zone, we grow it. And so I've gotten very comfortable, continuing to push myself and grow my comfort zone. And so when the domain was available, I was like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is the path, and I'm just going to take one step forward and then learn a little bit, and one step forward again and learn, and just continue down the path. And so here we are now with book number 1 complete, as well as a workbook. And yeah, it's been fun.
Okay, so what is the difference between never quit, 2 words, that's it, and never quit on a bad day? What is the difference between the two for you, to give us some perspective?
Absolutely. So for me, with never quit on a bad day, it is oftentimes when we quit something, it's typically a lot of times when we're frustrated. Something happened. We didn't think it was fair. We're deflated. We're discouraged. Maybe you're working on a goal and it's taking too long, and it's just like, all those emotions, those negative emotions. A lot of times that's when we typically will quit something. So the whole saying, never quit on a bad day, is to push through those negative emotions. So if you're going to quit, I like to use the word transition, or move forward. If you're gonna, move forward from one thing into something else, do it on a good day. So if you're going to quit something, it's also not saying never quit something. There are times when it's not a matter of quitting from a negative perspective. It's quitting because you're transitioning or moving forward into something else. So, for example, maybe you're at what's an example we can use? Okay, for example, I'll use my athletic career in terms of soccer, and I share this story in more detail in the book. But the short version is, when I decided to retire from playing professional soccer, it wasn't after a bad game. It wasn't because the coach was, I was benched or I was angry. It wasn't any of that. It really was, I was at a point in my life, and when I was sitting with we had actually just had finished a preseason game, if you will, and I got great feedback from the coach. And I remember driving home and I kind of sat with it a little bit, and I was very excited about a business that I was starting. I had missed a lot of family events because of being on the road trips and things like that. And I just got to this point where I was like, you know what? I don't think I want to play at this level anymore. Not, I'm not going to play. I knew I'd still continue playing soccer. However, I just felt like it's time for the next chapter. It's time to put the same focus that I've been putting into my athletics into the business that I'm starting. And so for me, when I decided to retire from playing professionally, it was a place of peace. I wasn't in a negative emotion. I was actually very excited for the next chapter. And I had accomplished a lot of goals. We won a national championship in the W League. I was awarded the W League Player of the Year. I had some incredible highs with that. My career with the Whitecaps, and just incredible moments and growth and learning. And so I just felt like for my continual growth, it's time to move into something else. And so I use that as an example is, did I quit playing professional soccer? Yeah, you can use the term, I did, but it was more so I transitioned into something else. And when you're going to transition, do it from a place of positive emotions or peace, when you've had a chance to really reflect on it. And then you're moving forward and you're moving into something else. And we do talk about that in the book too, as well.
Okay, so
Because I can hear people always saying, like, what do you mean never quit on about, or never quit? Yeah. It's like, well, yes and no. It's the fine print, if you will. There are going to be times when you should quit. Again, if a relationship isn't serving you, if a lifestyle habit, right? Like, for example, like maybe smoke, like something that isn't helping you move towards what you want to, then it is time to do it. Yeah. So,
okay. All right. So who would you say is the audience for the book? Is this a business book? Is it a relationship book? Is it kind of everything to everyone book? Kind of, who is your audience? Who were you thinking about when you were writing this?
Yeah, so when I was writing this book, it really is for a person or anyone who's ever felt discouraged on a goal, or the person who, maybe you're just kind of coasting through life and you haven't really been dreaming it anymore. You've kind of like let that part of you kind of put it on the shelf a little bit and you want to bring it back out. It really isn't a business book per se. It's a life book, because the stories in this book are from entrepreneurs. However, the stories aren't all business stories. They're very much, one's a hobby story, one's a, just lifestyle. It's really for that person who wants more out of life, and they may be feeling a little stuck, or they're feeling great and they want to continue with that encouragement. And the book's written in a unique way where there's stories. So every chapter is a story. And at the end of the story, there's a section called Reflections on Resilience. And this is kind of a workbook page. So it's a book that you grab your pen, you mark it up, highlighter. And in the Reflections on Resilience page, that page is really designed for the reader to reflect on their own journey, to dream again, to think about some of the situations that they've gone through in their life that they may have seen one way. And can we shift that thought process of how you saw that to something else that's going to serve you and help you move forward? We talk about the language, the words that we use to ourselves. Is that helping us move closer to our goals, or is it holding us back? And so it really is a book that is going to inspire you. And more importantly, it's going to help you take action to move forward on your own journey, whatever that looks like.
How are you different now that the book is in the world compared to when you started writing and you found the domain and you're like, oh, here we go, I'm going to have to write the book. Now it's out in the world. People are loving it, responding to it, identifying with it. How are you a different person from the beginning of the writing process?
I've definitely grown. I've grown again because it's something, it's so new to me, right? I love to read. So you're seeing one bookshelf behind me. I have another big one over here. And I've always loved to read. My parents were big readers. And so it just naturally kind of, I love to read. So anyways, and so now to know that I've created something, because I've been inspired by so many authors over the years and speakers, and to know now that I've added to someone else's life through this book, it's very rewarding. It's exciting in the sense that, I went from not even thinking about writing a book to a book series, as I started that first couple weeks, got the domain, I started brainstorming, and because I also always wanted to combine kind of my background as an athlete and as an entrepreneur, as I was, initially it was going to be one book featuring stories from entrepreneurs and athletes. And then when I was sitting with it, and I was just writing lists of people who I've been inspired by and who I just feel like have a great story to share. Then I realized I'm like, this is bigger than one book. This is a series. And so I got really excited about that. And so I've just grown a lot as a person in terms of, again, just dreaming big and what's possible and wanting to help more people. And that with the name of the book, one of the things that I just got really excited about, especially when the domain name was available, was that whether or not someone's a reader, whether or not someone ever picks up the book, the fact that them just hearing this saying, never quit on a bad day, it sticks with you, and it's going to inspire you regardless of even if you pick up the book. You might see someone with a tank top that says never quit on a bad day, or you hear this podcast, that it will help you even just to hear that, when you're working out and you're tired, or something happens at work that day and you're like, that you'll go, never quit on a bad day. I can get through this, get to the other side, and then make that decision. And so that's what I'm most excited about, is just getting that saying out there into the world.
Love it. So we keep saying the name of the website because the website's gorgeous. Neverquitonabadday.com. Again, talk us through the website. I'm looking at it. I'm seeing the book about the author. I see giving, speaking, shop, and connect. Tell us a little bit about what we're going to find when we come to the website. What is your hope for a new person showing up for the first time on nevertoquitonabadday.com? What do you want them to feel when they come to your website?
I want them to feel like they're part of a community of people who believe that they can accomplish whatever it is they want, that they know there's going to be bumps in the road because we're alive, it's part of life, and that they know they can get through it. They've been through tough stuff before, and you can do it again. And it's, information about the book. You'll get a free chapter when you visit. That chapter I chose specifically because it's all about language, and language words have such power. And and it's about belief, and that those two things are just so important. So you can get a free chapter, again, just to read, reflect on it. It's the full chapter. So you get the reflections on resilience as well, too. And then the giving pieces is just really important to me in terms of being contribution and just being able to give to people that can benefit from help. And we talked about sport, and so partial proceeds from everything, the books, the merchandise, we'll talk about the shop part, but the merchandise, everything will go to two organizations. So Right to Play, because I believe sport is just such a powerful vehicle for children, and that every child should have an opportunity to participate in sport. And then the Canadian Cancer Society, because I unfortunately lost my dad to cancer in 2012 and had some extremely, extremely low times and tough moments. And So that's the giving piece. You can learn a little bit about me, who I am, and then also the shop part. So there's merchandise there because I realized as well, sometimes you need that extra encouragement. Like I have the water bottle, never quit on a bad day. And so even today, this morning at boot camp, it was a tough workout. And I just look at that water bottle. I'm like, yes,
Come on.
and so there's tank tops. And so I have a bunch of members at the gym wear the tank top, and they're wearing it the day when I need to see that reminder. And so, I created kind of the Never Quit on a Bad Day merchandise shopping area for people who just want to represent that. They believe how important it is to push through those tough times. And so, you can grab a mug, you can grab a water bottle, tube, we're in Canada, so got to have toques on there.
You got it. Yeah, of course. We got to. Okay. The other thing I'm seeing at the bottom of the screen, it says meet the contributors. And all these beautiful people are scrolling by as we're chatting. I'm on the website right now. Who are these amazing people and how did they contribute to the book?
Yeah, so the book is a collection of short stories. So as I said, and so these are contributors. So I reached out to some amazing people who have inspired me along my journey in terms of as a individual, as an entrepreneur, and asked them to share a story. And so the reason I went that route is because I love stories, and I believe that people connect with different people's stories. And so, yes, I have a chapter in the book and I share one story of one of my never quit on a bad day moments. That being said, you're going to hear from other people in their never quit on a bad day story, because I believe stories are so powerful. And that's why this book really is for anyone who's ever felt discouraged and deflated, because there's going to be a story that you're going to connect with, some more than others. You'll learn a lesson from every single story, and some of them you'll actually see yourself in that person's story as well. And so they're exceptional human beings. They're people who love to give, who love to inspire, who have created incredible lifestyles in terms of through business opportunities, whether it's an online business, some are affiliate marketing, some are real estate investors, but they are all people who have really gone through some tough stuff to get to where they are, and they share their story and how they're able to do it.
Okay, no stress attached to this question or comment at all. No stress. But if you had a podcast about this, I would listen to this all the time, because podcasting is all about telling stories, connecting with people, and hearing voices that lead us and shape our journey. We can listen to it at the gym on a bad day and hear you pop on and go, giving us that advice and that encouragement to move forward. It's kind of like being on the field and having the crowd in the stands cheering you on, listening to a podcast. And I know you've felt that on the field yourself as a player, to know you have the support of a community behind you. So without adding any stress or anything to your calendar, I'm just telling you, a podcast would be awesome to be a part of your community and hear that and hear the stories. So if there's ever the opportunity for you to create that for us, my hand is raised. I would be so into that. So just an encouragement, because you have so much on your plate, but hey, I would love to be a part of that.
It is. I will say, and thank you for that it is something that is in the simmer stage of the pot, if you will. And okay. I do believe there's a lot, again, because I just want to help and serve and encourage. And so it is something that I've had a few other incredible people suggest that as well. So it is something I'm open to. Again, I'm an open person. So it's just a matter of, getting it organized and ready to go, because kudos to you. Podcasting there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that a lot of people, I love listening to podcasts. I'm one of those people. I listen when I hike, when I'm in the car, I'm always listening to podcasts. And there's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes that listeners don't always know how much you guys go through to really create what you do. And so I just appreciate being able to listen and learn. And so, yes, there might be something down the road.
Okay. Well, keep me in mind, because if I can be a resource for you, I only have 8 shows. So, it's, once you start one, it becomes like a snowball. It just gets more and more. So I get to talk to you, and we would probably not have this conversation and find out about you and your book and all of that had I not had a podcast. So I just think it helps grow your community, your connections with others, and then shine a spotlight on amazing contributors to your book. You could have all of them on your show and share their story in more depth and support the launch of the book and people buying the book as well. So there's just so many great things about podcasts. So I'm glad to hear that it's kind of on the stove. It's on the top.
It's in here. It's in here.
there.
It's
in
right
there.
around here, over here on
It's
the
great
side.
because your branding is on point. Everything you have on your
Thank
website is
you.
so good. So
Thank
to
you.
encourage you, that's all. No stress.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. I really do.
The one thing I love about having authors on, and I encourage everyone listening, when you buy a book, when you buy Never Quit on a Bad Day, leave an amazing review for others, because reviews are kind of like that word of mouth marketing that if I suggest to my best friend a TV show, it's probably because I know them and I know they would like it. I know there'd be something about them that they would appreciate, and they're more likely to click play on a movie or a TV show because it comes from me, a trusted friend, and they know I'm not going to suggest something that's not something they would like. So when I look at reviews for books, which I encourage for everyone, when you buy a book, leave a great review, is that you get to hear people sharing their thoughts about the book. So seems odd, but I'm going to do this. I have some reviews, and I'd love for you to speak to the person that left the review and give your feedback to them as they've purchased the book and they've taken time to leave a review for you, okay, and your amazing contributors. So here we go. Janice Porter left you a 5-star review on Amazon, and she says, to be successful as a network marketer, you have to have thick skin. It is also an ongoing exercise in personal development. This book speaks to so many lessons along the way, and in particularly love chapter 2, Jimmy Dick's story. Okay. I have had the privilege of hearing him tell that story in person, and he brings it to life in this book. He reminds us about positive language and how that can spur us on through the negativity that surrounds us. A big one also is to not use the word try. Belief in yourself is important key point. I love how Phoebe, it has a section at each end of each chapter to reflect and apply the lessons of the chapters. This is a worthwhile book and worth reading. Never quit on a bad day. So that's Janice.
Thank you so much, Janice. Thank you for, taking time to share that, because it is such a powerful chapter. That actually, for the listeners, that's the free chapter that's available on the website. So everyone has access to that. And so I love that she highlighted the word try, because I joke, I'm like, I have the no sign and tries in there because, like Yoda, right? There is no try, it's do or do not.
Yes.
And the reason that, and we can just do a little lesson on that, the reason that's so powerful, just think about it. It takes you out of the game. If you're like, well, I'm going to try to go to the gym today, you're giving yourself an out versus I'm going to the gym.
Nice.
That has power in it. And so many times, and I encourage people to do this activity. Listen to people as they talk. And when you hear the word try, you'll get to a point where you'll just go, when I have friends, if I'm doing like a party or anything, they're like, well, try to get there. To me, I already know I can put you as a no, and that's okay. Yeah. However, it's like, just language is so powerful. And so just eliminating that word try and that, I love that Janice shared that, because the reflections on resilience in that section, that chapter, is just, it's all about that language and belief. And we have a chart, success language versus limiting language. And so I just encourage people, that activity is to replace one word on that list of limiting language, try being one of those, and replace it with something else that's going to help you and is going to move you forward. And so I'm glad Janice enjoyed that chapter and loved the book. And thank you again for leaving that review.
So there you go, Janice. How about Sydney? Here we go. Sydney calls it inspiring. 5-star review. Again, of course, why not? And Sydney writes in, never quit on a bad day. Phoebe's enduring inspiration translates seamlessly onto the pages. I love how people write these reviews. Her book is a heartful invitation to embrace resilience, providing relatable short stories, engaging exercises, and actionable wisdom that resonate deeply. Never Quit on a Bad Day equips us with the tools to not only face adversity, but to thrive within it. So grab a cup of tea, a pen, and paper, and allow this book to empower you on your journey of personal growth. And that is Sydney. Any words for Sydney?
Sydney, thank you. I'm moved that you were inspired by it. And I love that you talked about action and grabbing a pen, because it really is that. It's a book for people to help them move forward. And that was something that was just so important to me in that book, is that people felt empowered to move forward, that they had some actionable items that they can do to help them move forward. So I'm excited, Sydney, keep going, whatever you are working on in terms of for your life journey and goals, go for it. And you have the tools to do it. So go for it. And there's natural ripple effect when you start living in your power and your greatness. It inspires everyone around you as well, too. So thank you, Sydney, for the review, taking action, and continuing to inspire other people as well, too.
Now, Phoebe, imagine the joy and surprise for Janice and Sydney to press play on this episode with zero expectation that the author of one of their favorite books talks to them directly in response to the review. Like, talk about a shareable moment. Like, everybody, Janice is running around the room right now going, Phoebe, talk to me. Totally. Sydney's going like, what? I'm going to share this with everyone. Phoebe talked to me. Like, she talked to me for leaving a review. So it is important for our authors to hear back, right?
It means so much. Like, just being able to read through, and thank you for that. Thank you for sharing those, because that's what is the, if you will, fuel. Like, that gets me excited about book number 2 and the next part and this book. It's just knowing that it's helping people, because that was the goal. That's the vision. That's the mission behind it, is really just to help people along their journey. And so when I read those reviews, I'm just like, kind of speechless in some ways, because it really does fill my heart.
See, okay, so you just let the cat out of the bag there a little bit. And I don't know why we say cat out of the bag. Like, why was the cat in the bag? I don't know. But you're working on book 2. Like, okay, let's talk a little bit about this. Where are you at in the writing process? Tell us about what's coming up with the book and give us an advanced peek into what you're writing so that we can all celebrate and come back to talk on the podcast about it when it's launched. But let us know what's happening with the book and get us excited about what's coming next.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about this next book. And so, as I said, it is a series. And so when I first sat down with Never Quit on a Bad Day, the first book, I started just making a list of names of people who have influenced me and who I'd love to just share their story. And that's kind of where I realized this is bigger than just one book. And so book number 2, I'm very excited because it's going to feature stories from accomplished athletes. And so it's not going to be a book about athletics. I want to make sure people understand that it's going to be some of the lessons that they've learned along their journeys. And it's not always going to relate to just their sport. It can be life. It's just, again, even though the stories will come from athletes, it's really going to be a story about mindset and how, when they had those challenges, what did they do to push through? How did they push through? It's going to be a very similar format in the sense that it'll be a collection of short stories. And I'm so excited about the athletes. So it's going to be a collection of short stories. There's going to be a section, reflections on resilience, again, for that reader to reflect on their own journey, because I truly believe, again, we're all so resilient. Sometimes we just don't remember, or we don't give ourselves credit for some of the stuff that we've gone through and overcame, and how we've overcome those, challenges along the way, and how they've shaped who we are. And there's so much more that we can do and enjoy down the road. Sometimes you just need to remind yourself, like, oh yeah, I did that. I can do this, and to go forward. And so this next book is going to be similar in the sense of how it's set up. It's just going to have another incredible group of contributors that are sharing their stories to help people. And just, again, people who are heart-centered, who love to give, who love to serve, and just who have done some incredible things in the world of athletics. And so It's going to be a fun one.
Okay. So that's,
yes, I would love to come back.
You do. You got to come back. Yeah, for sure. 100%. Okay. So how I usually end off my podcast is whenever we mention the websites and how to connect with people, sometimes people who are listening, they kind of they see that as an exit point, and I'm done here, and they go to the next podcast. So what I do to keep people sticking around, because I want them to connect with you and all that great stuff, is I have one final question I'm going to ask you after we talk about where to find you and more about your website. I know we've covered the website many times today, but as far as, I will ask you one more question when we're done here, but as far as social media, like where you're most active, where people can interact with you, and then again, talk about the website and the book, kind of wrap up part of the end of the podcast here. Send us where you want to send us as listeners. We'll have all this in the show notes as well. But talk about where you're most active. And then I have one more question for you at the end.
Absolutely. So I am available on social media, Facebook, Instagram. My personal is just Phebe Trotman, and then Never Quit on a Bad Day. So it's great because it's the same handle, Never Quit on a Bad Day. So you can connect over there, as well as the website, www.neverquitonabadday.com. For those of you who are excited about the book, would like to get a copy of the book, it's available on most online retailers. So Amazon's probably the easiest one to go grab a copy there. So you can grab a copy of Never Quit on a Bad Day, Inspiring Stories of Resilience. I do want to make sure people know there is the book. And so the book, you'll see Inspiring Stories of Resilience. And then I also have a workbook, and the workbook is more designed for dreaming. It's really to help stir up those dreaming muscles, dream bigger dreams. And so it's very different flow to, it's still under the Never Quit on a Bad Day brand, because dreaming, there are going to be bad days when you're going after your dreams. But the workbook's something separate, and that has a picture of a lighthouse, because I've used the reason behind that workbook. It has to do with the video that I share in chapter 4 of the stories book. And so to help people dream bigger dreams.
Okay. So Phoebe, as we end off today, I would love to hand the podcast over to you. And there's a listener here with us. They've come because of the title of your book, because of the title of the episode. They are having the worst day. Okay. And they've come here to get a little glimmer of hope. They're ready to quit. They're ready to give up on their dream. The thing that they've been chasing is just not working out. And they're struggling. And they're sitting here listening. Okay, it sounds like your book has got all this great stuff and resources, but I'm really not having a good day right now. And I'm afraid. So what would you say to them on their worst day when they're thinking about packing in their dream? What would you leave them as something they can do today to kind of work through that and work through those feelings? What would you say to them?
So I'd say a couple things. One, I'd say go for a walk outside first. And then while you're on your walk or after, just a short, and the reason being is sometimes you just need to change your state. You need to change your surroundings. You need to get the blood flowing a little bit. So that's one piece of it. The other piece I would say is I'd like to encourage them to make a list of 10 things that they're grateful for right now. The reason being is even when you're in the most challenging times, there's always something you can be grateful for. You can be grateful that you're here. You can be grateful for your health. You can be grateful for a friend, a family member, and find 10 things. And the reason I say that is because gratitude has a way of helping us to shift our perspective, in the sense of it's not minimizing what you're going through, but it just gives you a little bit of a break in terms of changing your train of thought. Just like going for a walk or a run or a workout or something like that will change your physical state, which will impact how you feel. Writing that list it'll just bring a little bit of clarity. And Dave, you know some of the stuff I share a little bit that I'm currently going through from a personal standpoint, and it is very challenging. Yeah. And I have to take those moments of just like, what can I be grateful for right now? And it may not be gratitude for the existing situation, but I can be grateful for my health. I can be grateful for the time. I can be grateful for. And so whoever is listening out there, if you are going through that challenging time, just find some things that you can be grateful for. Again, it may not be in that exact situation, but I always say you can borrow gratitude from something over here. Just borrow it. I'm grateful that I'm alive. And it's going to help you see some clarity with whatever you're going through. And know that you're not alone. You're not alone in your challenges and your struggles. It may not be the same thing. Like, we may not have the exact same challenge, but it's a challenging situation and you can get through it. You've gotten through other tough stuff before. Keep going and do one thing that's going to take you closer to accomplishing your goals and dreams, and keep going.
Wow. Thank you for that. That's amazing. I think somebody's going to hear that today, and that's going to change their mindset, make things different, and give some clarity for them in their day. So thank you for what you do with the book, all the amazing contributors that have been out there helping you with this, the next book coming, maybe the podcast, all of the great stuff that are happening for you, cheering you on here. And what's great is I feel like I've come from the stands down onto the field with you, and I get to be part of your community by being on the field. So thank you for all that you do, and I'm just wishing you well, and I'm following you with great curiosity and great admiration for what you put in the world. So, Phoebe, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you for everything you're doing with the podcast. You're inspiring people, and I just appreciate the chance to connect because, as you said, had you not taken the step forward to do this podcast, we may never have connected, and I appreciate you. I'm excited for you as well, and so thank you.
Awesome. Everything, all the information in the show notes, everyone. If you don't know the name of the website by now, I'm not sure what's going on because we've said it so many times because I love it. But go there and do all the show notes. All the information will be there. It's right there on the mug. Buy the mug. Come on, you need to buy the mug. Buy the T-top. Buy the tank top. Buy it all. You need to keep going. So never quit on a bad day, everyone. Phoebe, again, thank you so much.
Thanks, Dave. Take care.
Okay. Hey, well, thank you for listening. It's a new year, and we're excited to be releasing even more great episodes of Living the Next Chapter, and we want you to come along for the journey. Thank you for being here. If you know of an author that you would love to have featured on the podcast, an author that you enjoy, an author that brings you that excitement, that you would just love to hear them interviewed on this podcast, I would love to hear your suggestion for a future guest and what would be a question or two that you would want us to ask them on your behalf. Go to livinginthenextchapter.com. There's a little speak pipe icon there. You can leave me a voice message. Tell me who should be on the show and give me some question ideas. And I'll use your request and reach out to that author and invite them on and give you full credit for the idea. livingthenextchapter.com. Would love to hear your suggestion, and thank you for listening. Catch you on the next episode.
Hey there, fellow parent. If you're anything like me, balancing screen time for our kids is a constant struggle. That's why I want to share a little secret with you, KidsPod. It's this amazing app I found that's packed with podcasts just for kids. Imagine stories, learning, and fun, all without the screen. It's been a game changer in our house, keeping my kids engaged and their imaginations running wild. And guess what? It's completely free. So download KidsPod today. Trust me, it's a decision you won't regret.